Welcome in. We got the first Blackshirt Lounge. I'm Jay Foreman, as you see on the split screen. Is Tony Ortiz, my roommate, my room dog. I felt like it was good time to do a podcast where we'll not only go in the deep dive in what's a black shirt, but the lives of black shirts and our camaraderie, which I think at times doesn't get enough, I guess, media attention. By no means, are we all about ourselves, because we're going to be doing black shirts from old to new. Anybody that's a black shirt, we're going to try to have them on, and then obviously periodically have consistent ones and consistent guys and co-hosts and host myself. So it's a lot of informal. This is not on the radio, so you're going to get some deep dive into some deep conversations on how championships are born. But without further ado, welcome in my main man, Tony Ortiz.
Jay, what's up? Thanks for
Not much. I know, man. It's like, you know what? It's crazy. I was thinking about, the first person to have him was like, we should see each other every day, right? Because we were roommates and obviously played linebacker together. And then next thing you know, life start lifing. And then, we see each other every once in a while. Then life gets busy. You got kids, I got kids. Got families and stuff, man. It's always good. I think, like, as the world's turning, obviously we kind of just keep everything above board, but as the world's turning, it's always good to see, your family and stuff like that, man. Because, who would have thought, man? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Great players don't get the just due. And that's really what I think part of this podcast is, and learn about Tony Ortiz, the relationships that we had. But tell everybody, obviously coming from Waterbury, Connecticut, obviously by the way of New York. I remember when we used to get introduced. Talk about your high school career, how you got into football, and then how that turned into, which in this day and time, you would have been high 95 five-star recruit. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, according to other people's opinion, I would have probably been really up there. It was quite the whirlwind. I wasn't much of a football player. First, before I get into that, again, thank you for having me. What you said was so true. Sometimes we spent our entire collegiate career together, even though you're a year older than I am. I was told if I wanted to be great, to latch on to you. So everything that I did mirrored you, right? Tony Sanders sat me down in the office one day and said, if you really want to be great here, he goes, you're going to be great. But if you want to be great here, then the person to kind of model after is Jay Foreman. And I was like, the guy that eats potatoes at 11 o'clock at night trying to gain weight?
Really, the struggle was real, brother. You know what I'm saying? I was a hooper. Hey, I was a hooper, man. Hey, yeah, loaded, double loaded, yeah. Probably how I got that's how probably I got lactose. All that cheese on there, man.
Yeah, the toe cramps and the potatoes. But
yeah,
I said, so I did everything I could to try to be a bugaboo and learn from him and from you and do those things. When you say that, when we get back together, and to your point, we separate from careers and do other things and great things and families, things like that. When you get back together with somebody, it's like you never left, right? You just pick up where you left. And that's the great thing about, I think that's what lends itself to our success at college, on the college level, was because we were so tight. And it wasn't as much of a business as much as it was a brotherhood first.
Right.
And because of that, when you get back together, it's just like, you don't see guys kind of hanging out by themselves. You see guys hanging out in cliques.
Yeah.
And we were cliques within a larger clique. Anyway, it's just that was what I see differently now and
right
back then. But to kind of answer your question, yeah, from a high school standpoint, I was a track guy first, like you were a basketball guy first.
Right.
My first 2 years of high school, I tried out for my high school team. I was a running back. I probably could play anything, but I didn't really know what I could play or what could play wrong. But pads on wrong, I did all those things. It was all new to me.
Yeah.
My father tried to get me into sport early on, moving from New York to Connecticut and say, okay, listen, if you want to play sports, this is what it is. And, and I was like, I don't know. I didn't really get picked in baseball. I didn't really get picked in all these other things. I get picked on a lot. It wasn't really the athlete that would stick out. But when I tried football at 14, I realized that, all the kids that were messing with you growing up, you get to let that aggression.
Right.
In the helmet and pads. And so when I would do that, great things would happen. So next thing I know, I was 14 playing 3 games a week. This is back when you would play freshman on Monday.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we played Saturday. So Saturday I was playing Saturday mornings varsity games. And I played 3 games a week. my dad was like, yank, hey, that's a
Yeah.
big money. And so I didn't play for 2 years. I didn't play
Right.
for my freshman year, my sophomore year, but I ran track. And track was really, really good. And I think it was about my junior year, going into my junior year, when my track accolades were really top of the chart. I was running,
Right.
mid tens, 200 plus pounds. I'm 6'1". I'm running mid tens. I'm running 14s and 13s in hurdles. Just kind of raw, just
Right.
raw. Then I go to a Penn State camp. I go with my buddies who were all going, group of 5, 6 of us. Go to this Penn. I'm in the back seat. Go to a Penn State camp. I run a 4.3. I run the fastest 40 they had there. There was another kid that ran like a 4.4. They had both of us go meet Joe Pa immediately, right? By the
Right.
way, I did have a Sandusky moment. But
Oh hell no. No. Okay. Yeah. You got you.
Well, let me pull a Cam. Pause.
Yeah.
But I had to say,
Yeah. Hey, I know you too. I know you didn't let the door shut though on his ass though, right?
I think I was too old for him personally.
Right. And the pigmentation was picking.
So I had that moment. We had our conversation, and then they were like, "Yo, Joe Pa want to go see you." And back then they couldn't give you rides, and so I had to go jog across campus to go meet Joe Pa. So I go meet Joe Pa, sit in this giant office. Little guy walks out, and he offers me right then and there. I had no idea what an offer was. Right. Tell me I'll give you a full ride. Blah, blah, blah. All right, let me go talk to my parents. And that's how that started. And, that's 4 or 5 hours away. So then that recruiting started. And then Pasqualoni started in Syracuse. In recruiting, when one person gets you, the other person starts. So that ping pong
Right.
starts working. And that's how all of that started coming in. And then I started playing football. And I was a running back first and had a bunch of yards. It was my first time touching the ball, 30 touchdowns, 2,000 yards first year, whatever the
Right.
numbers were. And so recruiting started, and that's how kind of all that snowballed into my recruiting trips and making decisions and all those types of things. And it worked out well. I look at today, I don't know what my NIL evaluation would be, but I think the house would have been paid off. So.
Oh, you would, yeah. You would have been like that dude that went to Texas Tech said, not only do I need a crib, I need 2 cars, I need a ride to practice, and I need my parents to be out to. It would have been great though when we were room dogs, boy. We would have been eating like kings. I wouldn't have to eat no potatoes at night.
You hadn't eaten no potatoes.
Because hey, man, what was the dude, man, that used to come out and cook, man? Was it Mav? No, Mav, right?
No, Mav. Roddy Mav.
Mav, yeah, man. Yeah, hey, for people that, rest in peace, man. When we were roommates, we were living out on 800 Westwood Road, man, and Tony would be like, "Hey, Mom's coming out," and I was like, "Oh yeah, we got leftovers. We about to eat." You know what I'm saying? You get to eat.
He come out. Remember Dominican Lou? So
yeah.
Those that don't know Roddy Mafia. Roddy Mafia was a friend of Tony Samuel, and so Roddy Mafia was from Jersey City. So Roddy Mafia, we call him Maf because he would have the typical Italian soprano like look, right? Short dude, the rings on his fingers, the talking like this, and all those other types of things. He would come out, he would cook all this food, and he would hook it up. And he was to the same school as Dominican Lou. He went to Tony Sam's high school. He was an AD, so he was connected with recruiting in a way that he used to bring the Jersey City guys out there.
Yeah,
that's why a lot of people used to associate me with Jersey City, only because Roddy Mafia was closer to me than anything else.
Right.
Come out, and he's a good dude. I got a couple pictures of him I'll post at a bowl game, but he was always that guy in the sideline. You know how gangsters used to wear glasses that were tinted, like in casinos.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Tinted like look. That's what he had.
Yeah.
He was dope.
Oh, I remember that, man. He was good people's, man. That's what people don't understand is that that's where championships were born, because he'd be telling stories. And we'd be eating good. We'd get 2 or 3 rounds in, and we definitely ain't had to worry about making weight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
no. One thing I want to ask you, since I played basketball, and you were track first, but I also think that like my dad, I ran track. Obviously I did was a 200 and triple jump and long jump, and I remember my dad telling me he's like this. He knew I was a good athlete, but it was more or less like, okay, what you'll get out of it will help your main sports. And I wanted to ask you, when you ran track, what I got out of it is I had to be competitive. There's no, like, you talk to your, jump coach or whatever. But by that time, you got to kind of talk to yourself. Like, I got to, it's win or you die. You know what I mean? That was our mindset. Is that what helped you become competitive at an early age, knowing that, when you're over there running 100, it's either you win or you get embarrassed. because I think that helped me in football.
Yeah, 100%. That in part with kind of where I grew up, because where I grew up and how I grew up, we were competitive with one another. You know, back in today's era, kids today they have indoor facilities. They can
Yeah,
go and hoop all day long. They play leagues. When I grew up, it's warm outside. The park is packed. So that
right,
competitive drive, whether it's basketball or track, was I'm not going to lose because I want to talk junk. I want to talk that
right,
shit all day long.
right, exactly.
So if it was hoop, especially on a Friday or a Saturday morning, you get there early. And the idea was if I lose, then I got to sit and wait who got next. 3, 4
Right,
games to the fact. And now I'm cold.
yeah,
And nobody wanted to lose because nobody wanted to wait who got next. The idea
right,
was the same with track is I wanted to win. I'm an inner city kid. I'm running against, first off, when you're an inner city kid, the expectation, the bar is already low, right?
right,
So for me, the chip on my shoulder was I'm a Latin kid, I'm an inner city kid, and now I'm doing things that won't necessarily or for me, right?
right, right,
The chip on my shoulder, go out there and beat some of these other dudes at private schools or other schools was bigger than probably most, and that's what
right,
drove me. The competitive piece of it for me is I just didn't want to lose, and I was competitive everything that I did,
right.
right? So whether it was track or street basketball or stick ball or whatever it was, whether I was good at it or not, I was competitive on it. So and that's what drove me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's you don't even know it because I said these kids don't even go outside and like climb trees and figure out what to do to keep themselves busy, let alone the life skills of learning. The one thing they don't even learn. You see it at the college and even at the pros. They don't even know how to fall right. I remember my
Right.
dad taking me back in the back and was like, "Look, when you play football, you got to learn how to fall right. You got to learn how to brace
Yeah.
yourself." But all those things, and obviously, times were a lot different, and these kids are missing out on, because now you try to talk to them, they just like, yeah, whatever, man. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? They'll go listen to somebody on YouTube. God forbid, we got two or three national championships, played at the pros. Know what it's like to, go through the grind, and they have no idea. And the funny thing about it, I want your opinion on this. They always like say, hey, you older guys don't have any like empathy, and I feel like, and I was thinking about this, like, why is that, right? I think the main reason why older athletes aren't empathetic, it's not because of what they have, it's because of where we've gone through to get to where we're at.
So,
And so it's like you're not sitting, you're not even out of the batter's box, and we've been around home base 4 or 5 times. Don't tell me it's hard when it's actually easy. And I think also what people do in this day and age, and I don't know if you ever be able to change it, is that they don't understand is like when you've been in a hyper competitive environment, and we'll get to college, when you came to Nebraska, is that you don't want to be around non-competitive people.
that's right.
Like it's all right. Is it? I mean, am I right? Because I think like a lot of guys that came on recruiting trips. I always tell people there's a lot of famous players or college quarterbacks that end up playing came on recruiting trips, and they got ran up out of Lincoln.
Yeah.
People don't realize that.
Yeah. Complacency is the enemy of any championship team, right?
Right.
And so if you're not around, and this, I think this is something we knew without really knowing it. It's not like we walked around saying, "Hey, you're being complacent. You're not doing it." It was you're not doing the shit you're supposed to do.
Right.
That was the idea, and really, that's always set by the older guys that were there. If it wasn't for the older guys who set that tone, I probably wouldn't have learned what it was
Right.
like to be held accountable and hold other people accountable for it. Not that I'm trying, and I think sometimes when people make the mistake of, "Well, you're trying to be such and such, you're trying to be like a leader like such and such," I'm like, no, I'm not trying to be like them. I'm just trying to hold the standard up.
Right.
I know hold the standard up. And
Yeah. I
so,
think. Yeah.
yeah, no, it's exactly that. People who walked in there and said this stuff's going to be handed to me didn't last.
Right.
Or, I mean, they didn't have the portal back then, so they just bounced, right?
Right. Right. I just went to the crib.
They just went to the crib. Yeah,
Yeah.
the portal was the crib. They just bounced. So, in high school, we didn't have facilities. Today, every other business is a training business.
Right.
I didn't have that. I didn't have
Right.
somebody I could lean on and say, my dad would get in a three-point. God rest in peace. My dad would get in a 3-point stance, and I'm looking at him going, "Dude, what is that?" He would say, "This is what you got to do, and you got to hit him here and here."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Don't do forearm, man.
Yeah. Right. 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 They still be talking about delivering that hammer, right?
Carl Randall and the Reds and
Right.
all this kind of stuff. That stuff don't. It's different, but the idea behind that and what got them through that experience, and that was what they were trying to impart in me. It's the same thing I try to give somebody else. So no, I don't have any empathy for somebody that says I can't drive through that. We used to walk. I can't
Yeah.
get this location to train, or I can't get up this early to do this. Or we didn't have the saunas and the facilities. It's the same idea as I tell people all the time. Every time I see a facility that's $100 million, that's great, but that is what was built by this era.
Right.
And you guys don't know what it's like to not have it because there's 3 stalls in the bathroom where 70 guys got to share it.
Right.
And
Right.
shower
Yeah.
heads. And you would think that we would have a little bit more, but we didn't have any of those things. But we made it work, and because we didn't know any better, all people wanted to do was go out there and be dogs.
Right.
And I don't see that in college football collectively. It's maybe a few schools here and there, but just college football collectively, everybody, there's so much more money and so
Yeah.
much more exposure of that lifestyle that I don't see anybody hungry enough. Granted, there's always these perfect fits, the Indianas and the once in a lifetime
Georgias and stuff like that.
Georgias and Alabamas. Those are because they're ran by people who have an old school mentality, not necessarily a new school approach. But all
Yeah.
that's in the water now, and you just don't see it as much. And it is because of what they're accustomed to as kids coming up.
Yeah.
Everything handed to them. The training is there 24/7. The specialized stuff is there 24/7, and it's not. I'm playing with a stick. I'm playing with some rocks, and I'm getting better this way, and I'm learning along the way. So that's where I think the fall off is, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they can withstand this type of influx of money, and because the product isn't as good as you're not getting your bang for your buck. So we shall see. But I want to get back to like when you came to Nebraska. Obviously, you chose Nebraska. Who was your final? If you would do one, how they have edits. What would
Yeah.
Tony Ortiz? Your final. What they do? Your top 4. Who was your final 4? Nebraska and who else?
It was Nebraska. It was Penn State. It was Clemson, and it was Michigan. Now Michigan
I
I
remember.
never gave a chance to because Michigan was my last trip I canceled. And so Michigan came to a basketball game that I was playing, and they said, "Oh, you're a pretty good basketball player." I was like a shooting guard or some nonsense. I wasn't very good, but they invited me out. There was a trip. Miami came in very very late. This is when Miami
Yeah.
was still on suspension.
Yeah, for Pell Grant. That was a year before.
Yep. They were like, "Hey, we could bring you down. We got limited scholarships," and I was really, really close in throwing them in, and I didn't do it. But Nebraska was the very last trip. So my first 2 trips was NC State,
Yeah.
and it was Clemson. NC State was more because of a little influence with my high school coaches. That was where he played at North Carolina State A&T, and he was like, go to NC State, go check it out. So I was just following that lead, and then the schools just got bigger and bigger. Clemson, I was really close with Rich Bisacci, who ended up, coaching in the
Oh, yeah.
for a long time. So, Rich and I were really close when it came to recruiting, even in the NFL when I met him in Tampa. Just get real tight, cool dude. Still kept up with me. And then obviously Coach Osborne and that recruiting trip, which was really, really fun. And I committed at that point. But yeah, that was it. Those were the top 3, top 4. Michigan not getting an opportunity. Maybe things would have changed. But
Yeah.
I canceled it. After I came back on Monday, I
Yeah.
was like, I ain't going. Put your mother on the phone.
Yeah.
I ain't never coming home.
Yeah, listen, man. We won't name no names, but we had some closers back in the day that got cast to but you and Big Shug. You know what I'm saying? We make sure we got the good thing about being a good recruiting host, you always got the little extra in your per diem. So they was like, "Damn, Jay, you get these dudes to commit." I was like, "Hey, bro,
You had a bonus. The bonus
we didn't set you out right. You know you got to commit right." You're like, yeah, I got to commit, man. But it is what it is, right? We'll keep that for the Dark Side Lounge and see what we can do with that. I got to charge people for that. But I wanted to ask you also. So when you came in, obviously we were, obviously in the same linebacker room. But I think the biggest thing is the adjustment. And I think they got recruits. I think when we're recording this, I think on Wednesday is their February signing day, and they got some early enrollees. Talk what it's like, and obviously I know, but obviously we're featuring you. Talk what it's like when you come in as a high recruit, and then you got to kind of reset or just kind of get infused into our culture, which was more set in stone versus they're trying to create culture at Nebraska right now.
Yeah. So it's a great question. So you walk into something that's already turnkey, right? This is how things go. This is how things roll. This is how we approach things on a day to day. It was business and it was fun. Obviously, on your recruiting trip, you see a lot of the fun first. You
Right.
don't know much about the business part of it. And the business part of it isn't about the dollars. The business part of it was the sweat equity. Those are the things that you had to put in order to kind of really fit. Now, as you are a hardworking guy, then you fit in right away. If
Right.
you were a guy that was just going to complain and do those types of things, and your ass got ran out of there pretty quickly.
Right.
And so you're working with, and particularly to our group, we had a group of linebackers and defensive ends, right? So we're all working together. So I had the opportunity to work alongside not only the backers, but the Grant Windstroms and the Jared Tomaches of the world, the Mike Ruckers of the world, to kind of watch how those things get done. I'll give you the perfect example. I think for me, the very first practice, I kind of thought things were just like status quo. Okay, you're automatically accepted, right? I
Right.
put a black shirt sticker on the back of my helmet. I said, "Give me
Oh,
that
I
shit."
remember. Yeah, I remember that shit. I was like, I said, this motherfucker done lost his mind. I said, you're right. I said, this. I said, hey, I remember. Hey, I saw you with that shit. I looked at you. I said, bro, what you doing? You was like, hey, don't we all get? I said, nah, man. I
You
said,
know what it is? You're like, nah. I said, nah, I'm gonna keep mine. I'm good. I'm
exactly.
going.
I
I'm
said,
going
okay,
through
you
the
go. I said, hard head gonna make for a soft ass. This shit funny.
You were like, and you looked at me. You were like, all right, and I was like, all right. So I said, you. Everybody else got one. So plug, I put it in. I'm going through the bag drill, and I'm like, I wasn't I hated to be the first guy. That was part of my learning process. I hated to be the first guy in the bag drill, like especially as I got older, that changed. But when I was younger, I
Right.
didn't want. I didn't. You didn't want to be the guy to show off or outwork an older guy, but you didn't want to be the guy that was last because you just didn't want to. You didn't want to screw up, and so I was kind of right in that middle, but. I'm like second or maybe third to last, and Jared's right behind me, Tomich. And I'm going through the drill, and he said, and as we're going through the drill, he was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
I can hear it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, am I going too slow? Am I not going fast enough? And it's just a bag. It's just a shuffle drill and punch the bag. So you get to the end of it, and he grabs me, and he says, "Hey," and he taps me right here because I had the sticker right in the back. Matter of fact, I still got the helmet right here with the sticker on it. He says,
Right.
"Hey, what do you got there?" I said, "This is a Blackshirt sticker." And he says, "Nah, man, you got to earn that. Take that off." So he made me take it off, and I remember you giggling in the back, and he just made me take that off right in front of everybody, and he was like, "You got to earn this. And
Yeah.
this is earned. It's not just any sticker. It just comes with something." And
Th-
that moment, I realized how everything is going to change. That if it's something as simple as a sticker that has so much weight to it, then what
Right.
is it to actually put on the shirt? What does it mean to actually play and be a black shirt? And everything changed for me in that from that day forward. And that was the first day of practice.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's crazy. I'll never forget that, man. I said, first of all, the equipment dude was about to get his ass beat because I was like, who the hell gave him that? You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
Then second of all, I was like, hey man, you should have had that on. You was like, man, I'm gonna do what I want. I was like, oh, hey, you gotta learn somehow. And it was funny. And I was just looking. I knew it was Jerry caught on to it because what people don't understand is the outside linebackers and the rush ends and outside linebackers, the Sam linebackers, which we played because we played a 4-3. We would always be together, and everything we did and through our like warm ups and stuff, because Coach Sam was coaching both of us, and I was just laughing because Grant used to always go first, and then Jared would be in the end. So it's kind of like, and what people don't understand is like our leadership style. If you study wolves, right? Pack of wolves, they always, the leader is always up the end to make sure he's kind of pushing the pace, and you have the one kind of younger leader as well, which Jared was the senior leader, and obviously Grant was the leader in waiting, and then everybody else was kind of in the middle, and we were kind of pulling each other along. I was like, yeah, he gonna get the Jared business because I got the business from Jared when I was going through the bags, and he didn't think I was going fast enough, and I was going fast. I was like, shit, I gotta pick this pace up because this big motherfucker look like he gonna go crazy. Because people don't realize about Jared Thomas, I know that when he snap on you, he had that superhuman strength. I was like, yeah, I gotta stay away from him. But
And a dude that had just the black shirt tank top jersey on. It was taped at the very top, so
yeah,
it's nothing.
traps. Yeah,
And a little chain and just like hairy forearm, big ass forearms. And he's like, and he was kind about it, but he was stern
Right.
about it. He was like, no, take that off.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely was a topic of the discussion in the locker room. This little motherfucker ain't even in the varsity locker room walking around with a black shirt. That shit is funny, man. But
I pushed a lot of people. One thing about me at that age was I wanted to know. I really, really wanted to know fast what it was like. Not that I'm walking into a prison system and I want to knock out the biggest guy, but I wanted to walk in there and kind of figure out who I could.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I was like, yeah.
And I don't know why, but Mike Minner was that guy.
Oh my God. I don't know what.
I was like, yo, what is it? Because I was like, yo, that dude looks small, but that dude looks ferocious. Like,
Yeah.
with that dude, and I remember that, man. I remember we were in the bus. Remember that? I forgot what game it was, what bowl game it was. And you were like, hey, I bet you don't hit Mike Minner with this grape. And I was like, I bet you don't hit Minner with this grape. And he turned around, and I would look the other way. Like when he used to drive, and he used to honk the horn. He'd go, and you would wave the other way, and people would look at you like, I do the same.
Yeah.
Throwing grapes at Mike's head. And Mike was sitting in the front throwing grapes, and you're giggling, you're giving it away, and I'm looking out the window, and then Mike came over, and Mike was like in his country, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And then, again, another dude. Everybody had traps, man. I was like, and Mike came over, and was like, you keep throwing these motherfucking grapes at me, I'm gonna whoop your ass. And I was like, yes, sir.
Yeah, because Mike got up, he was mad, man. And we was I think we was headed to the airport to get ready for a game and stuff, man. We used to try to keep it light. Mike Minner got the grapes, but the boy that when the plane was it on the plane when you hit my man Ryan Hill?
No, see, yeah. So I hit Ryan Hill
in the eye.
The other day, I couldn't stop.
Yeah,
I couldn't stop laughing. I love Ryan to death, but it was in the meeting room. Remember, Ryan was.
That's right. And that's right.
Ryan walks in to talk to Craig and about something. Craig Bowl, our linebackers coach at the time. And this is 1997. And so
the lights went off.
The lights went off.
Yeah.
And you and I sat in the front. I think Carlos and EJ. EJ would be sleeping on the furthest left chair, and then it was you and I, and then Carlos and everybody else was in the back, Butebach and all them. And so I turned and I threw a grape. It hit Ryan in the eye, and all we could hear it hurt him.
Yeah, you hit him square in the.
He's like, my eye.
Yeah.
And nobody knew what's going on. So not only is he in pain, but he has to explain why he's in pain.
Hey man, I'm gonna tell you the cast of characters we had in that damn linebacker room. It was like I think we had at this point, Coach Bowl was coaching all of us.
Yeah, this is post Terrell, by the way.
Yeah, this is post T. Farley. But I think we had to keep it light, man, because it was definitely intense when we went in there. It wasn't we went from T. Sam, to Coach Bowl.
We went from, you could still go 100 miles an hour, but you never know it because you're on cruise control with T. Sam.
Right.
Smooth. The delivery was always smooth. Where it was, get in the big gap. It was Craig, who was always on edge.
Yeah.
100% of the time. And it was never too relaxed.
So right.
Never got that. But the players were the funniest part. But I want to take it back to what it was like for you. I'll tell you what it was like for me in a minute. But I want to know from you, and I don't know and obviously they don't do this today. I don't know.
Right.
They don't do any level of hazing whatsoever.
Right.
We had an induction into the locker room. Now, obviously, my freshman year, I redshirted, injury and rehab and all those types of things. So I didn't get to experience that my freshman year. So the first that I had coming in had people who were rights of varsity. Chris Brown kicked, Amon ran the rock, and maybe somebody else that was another freshman might have got in there. Maybe a lineman. I don't remember. What was it like for you in your level of induction at the last day of camp? Do you remember what that like for you?
Man, well, it was crazy because I redshirted too. And then so that damn North locker room, man, I remember they had a long urinal, and then they had one, they didn't even have an enclosure where you could take a shit, and then there was like 4 shower heads.
That's right.
So that shit was like, and then you had those steel lockers, and they give you like one girdle, one jock, and like one pair of socks. And so you always heard about when they went down to the varsity or to the South locker room.
Outside, yeah.
And then it was like camp wasn't even over, but I think that was like when school was about to start because we got a day or two off. So you get down there and then you be outside and they line you up in alphabetical order. And I was always taught like, hey man, let your parents do the talking. You young. And I was obviously moving up the ranks, and so I was like, hey, you go in there and you ain't gonna like hit me in the face or nothing, but kind of take your licks and then keep on moving. And then they kind of like then that's your like you're in there.
You're in. Yeah,
Yeah. Now there was
in.
right, and there was some guys that they'd come in. The only thing that we did was we shave your head or whatever, and I didn't have a haircut no way, so I was like, cool, this is free as me. But some guys, I never forget when we took the pictures, man. I don't know who it was. First of all, remember E Nut had the little shag in the back, and they cut his shit. Wilts had the good hair and like striped him, which would probably in this day and times it would have been a little bit, probably too much. And then there was another freshman, I forget. I don't even know if he made it like after that.
Yeah.
He had just got a nice little fade wherever he came from. Like just must have got it before, we used to do the 300 a 300 shuttle test, and then you get in there with the varsity, and then they must have got him that night after that first team meeting. My man was crying like a motherfucker, man. Crying because he's like, I just got a haircut. My mom just got me a haircut. I said, bro, listen here. We in hell now, motherfucker. We in hell. Okay. We in holy hell. You worry about your haircut. We in survival mode. We got band together because we about to get our ass kicked for about 2 or 3 weeks. But yeah, it wasn't too bad. I think I learned a lot from that as I went on to be a senior leader or as a captain.
Yeah.
Hey man, it's just part of doing it. My dad always told, hey, look, my dad had to do it. You just do it and just get it over with. I know some guys I always like took it a little bit too far and enjoyed it. But I think some guys, freshmen, deserve they had to come. Yeah. And I know, and I tried to tell you, I said
dog, as soon as the whistle blew,
yeah.
Mike Winter took off his helmet and he said, I'm coming for you. And I was
like,
what we talking about?
Yeah, I remember that.
Everybody was lined up outside the locker room.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nah, Tony's first. And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I had no idea what was gonna happen. I heard the stories, but I had no idea.
It wasn't that bad. I mean, it's kind of it's just more the anxiety of more the anxiety, and then you kind of made it, and then you kind of restart from there. But yeah, it was it definitely wasn't no like Northwestern shit like what they was doing up there with Peck, but we was and it wasn't
it never got out of hand until
except for one guy.
Except for one guy.
The one guy, and we'll keep his business out there, but we won't name names.
We won't name names.
I don't know, but I think also I felt bad because I think he transferred in and he was like an OG, but he was new to the locker room. We got him when he was naked, and my man must have got a kidney punch or something. He was urinating blood, so we'll keep that off the. We won't keep his name out there, but we won't name no names. But funny old boy, he thought he made it.
Kibosh on that pretty quickly.
Yeah, after that, I think things changed, but some guys went too far. But Tony, I want to talk about. I mean, obviously, look, a great college career. But I always ask people this: what was it like, playing in your first, not only your first game, but your first big game? Because I think like guys, people don't realize. Like I think, and I know this. It's not. I think like we lived for the big games. I mean, we handled business. Every game was a big game. But we wanted, like when we trained in the off season, we were thinking about national championship game. We want Colorado, whoever was the best, like Washington. Talk about the mindset on what the preparation was when it would start on Monday, right? And then as the attitude started to change, and we all respected each other's space, right? Because you prepare for a game different than me, but we all knew like, okay, about Thursday, Friday, we on edge. We either going to start fighting each other because we want to get ready for Saturday. Talk about how it is when you were about to play in your first big game. Like, like, oh shit, this is like what I used to see on TV.
Yeah, I think that moment for me probably changed. Remember, I used to split time a lot with Brian.
Right.
And so I think it changed for me when I became the sole starter toward the end of the 97 season. And
right.
The preparation changed. So it was like, I want to say it was maybe the fifth or sixth game in. And all of a sudden now, where you were a guy that was coming in on third down to blitz, that's all I really had to know.
Right.
What situation am I in? How am I getting to the QB? Now it's you need to know every situation because you're
Right.
and so that level of preparation for me changed going into the the Big 12 championship game of that year, right? Because then
Right.
playing A&M, but and then the biggest game for me would have been the championship game
Right.
for that year for sure, right?
Right.
Because it was now I'm starting, and now I'm starting in a national championship game that's going to be played as the last game of the year. Everybody's watching it, and how am I going to get ready when I'm sitting in the middle of the beach in Miami, and I'm telling you, hey, let's go hang out, and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm
Mm.
I'm sleeping. I'm like, yo, it's 9 o'clock. Let's go to the beach. And you're like, I'm sleeping. You get up and watch film. I was like realizing, okay, we're spending 2 weeks in Miami. I could do one of two things. I could hang out with everybody else that's not playing, or really dial in
Yeah.
who is playing and focus. There's going to be time for everything else. And that level of preparation for me and that recognition of that being the game. By the way, I led the team in tackles for that game. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
It was
It caused a fumble too, right?
was a fumble.
Yeah, yeah. That was a game changing play. Because it was like you hit him, you and Ralph hit him, or then I came in third, right, against Jamal Lewis. That kind of changed because they were driving.
They were driving.
Yeah.
They were driving, and that changed the tone and how we came out. But it was something that really changed how I prepared for the game and the environment that was in and how serious things were. Because practice was always practice, but practice at a
Yeah.
point when you did things the night before and you had to come in ready to work. That's when I realized that this was some real stuff. It all changed for me.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we had a plan. I was a little bit a year ahead of you. Obviously, I redshirted and I kicked it hard. Obviously, when we beat Miami, but I also realized I watched the guys how they started to prepare. So when we got down to Miami, the first 2 days is what first 2 or 3 days, and then we would battle through that scrimmage because we'd go out the night before. But then after that, it's locked and loaded, and that's what you mentioned before early is that you kind of had to come in and get in line. Like I knew I've been there, obviously before, and I knew you had talent. So that by we got 97, and I know because we were roommates at that time, and I saw the change in you. And it was also coincided with too. I know I think you got your Kappa stuff on. I remember when we were out there 800 Westford Road, and you were online. And I don't want to. Obviously, I know that I'm not going to talk about your business, but I remember you're online, and I remember you come back dead tired, and I was like, this motherfucker here. I said, Tony, listen, you got a great opportunity, motherfucker. You could start. But you was online, and I said, I remember that.
Ball. It was during spring ball.
During fucking spring ball. Like, I was a starter, and you were competing for your spot. And I was like, all right, man, I know it's important to you. And that's the thing, like, the brotherhood we had in the relationship, I was like, all right, I know this is important to him because it's bigger than football. But I'm like, damn, man. So then I was like, I remember on Sundays was kind of like your day off from being online. Yeah, pledging. So I remember we'd go, and I'd go to the store, whatever the discount store was, and I get all that fucking chicken. And remember, we were out there, and it was a dork, almost burned his face off. We had that gas grill. We didn't realize you had to keep putting propane in that motherfucker. I was like, all right, man, I gotta cook for this motherfucker because you would, remember you got up to about 218, and then you dropped down to like 200.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, you right now you're in survival. And then, I was like, all right, now then you started to see the maturity, then the summer, and then obviously you got, and then it was like, oh, I saw the switch about game 5 or 6. I think that was all out of your system. You kind of got done with that. And then you started to make plays, right? And then I was like, and then we, Coach Bowl, he was a little bit different. It was drastically different than Coach Sam.
Yeah.
And obviously I've been in there and the whole like post-starting thing. So I've kind of been through your process before, right? And I knew when you were talking to me and I was seeing the same things, and I know how frustrated you used to be because I was there just a year before.
Right.
And that's why I was like, yeah, just be patient, be patient, be patient. And then boom, it was like, there he is. And then you never look back after that. And it's a hard process to go through because it's not even about competition. Because this is what I think a lot of coaches, they didn't have to deal with. They got to deal with now because we weren't going to transfer. Like I know I was going to transfer to Michigan. You probably had opportunities to go back home because we felt like we were outperforming our competition or what we were getting on a snap count. but we couldn't because we weren't going to sit a year. We was like, we're going to figure it out. So I've been there. I kind of been through all different stages, and it's crazy how they partnered us together, and we kind of, like my path was yours as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, chill. It's not as bad as it thinks, or as you think at the time. And one thing is like players are very receptive, and you deal with this because you train and you got a great business down there where you got leagues and you got players very receptive, and they know who's good and who's not. They know who put in the work and not, and they know how things are perceived in and out of the meeting rooms and the locker room. And that's where I think people don't understand, or coaches sometimes miss the boat, because delivering a hard message is never hard for us, because I know who your dad was, you know who my dad was. Those are the only messages we were getting, right? It's, if you say you do A, B, and C and D, then I better be getting motherfucking E.
That's right.
Because if you don't give us, because if you say this is what you can get and we do it, then that's what we want. It was all black and white, and that's kind of which I think made us really a good group of players together, and that's why we were able to. I was like, hey, look, dude, we're gonna lock in here. We're gonna win this motherfucking game. We just lost, to Texas last year, a chance to go 3 in a row, and a lot of times we felt, me and you, that if we would have been, obviously had the Farley situation and stuff like that, but we felt like if the two guys that are on this podcast right now would have been against Texas, I think felt like we match up a little bit better against, James Brown out there dancing on folks. And my teammates are my teammates, but, when we trained that offseason, it was different. And so, I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's a turning point in everybody's career when you have to deal with competition. I think it helped probably going to the next level for you. The great thing about it, look, we go win a championship. I get a senior year. I'm in Buffalo, right? So I'm always calling back, checking on my boys. And I was like, shit, I'm not there as the filter, right? Because I know it. I'm calling back. And y'all motherfuckers was like, hey, we hate this motherfucker. We ain't going to practice. I'll never forget that. I was calling you on a Monday night. I was watching Monday Night Football. Calling back I was like, hey, man, what's up? And I'm, at that time in Buffalo, I'm, playing a little bit on defense and, kickoff. And, I'm just kind of just making my way and happy I made the team. Calling back, and y'all was like, yo, you gone, it's worse. And I talked to Butenbach, and even Carlos was playing a lot of you. Like, fuck this shit. I said, listen, man. We work way too motherfucking hard for y'all to sit up here and not go to fucking practice. Y'all going to goddamn practice. Right. End up working. But, that's the thing, is like, I think everybody has that point where you're thinking about tapping out, right? In life, we've been, but I think sports and college is your first time. Right. Because you got to think in high school, there might be guys that are older. You're just.
You have to lean back. It's not, you're not on your own. You're not. You got family at home. In college, when you deal with adversity, the first thing that comes to your mind is I could bounce.
Right.
I know where to go.
Right.
Somewhere to be.
To the crib.
Where it's safe. The crib. Yeah. But we, couldn't really do that. My parents weren't going to allow me to do that.
Yeah, me. Yeah.
You got to deal with it, because this is life. This is what a job's going to be like. This is what the next level is going to be like. This is what relationships are going to be like. You can't necessarily just always bounce and start something new. You're going to have to kind of get through it and get to the other side and then make a decision.
Right.
So for us at that time, even when things got shaky and things got political, or things got this, that, and the other, that wasn't the norm, then we still had to push through it. And I think, in going into that 98 year was a lot of that. Going into that 99 year was a little bit better. But it was a fight for everything. It was constantly, and it didn't have to be, but it was. It made us better. It made us worse in some areas, but it made me better in the long run, because it taught me what to deal with going into the next. Looking back, right? Talk to me for the next level and beyond that. But no, I agree with you. It was totally like that. I remember expressing that frustration, and everybody was on the same page. It was like,
well, everybody, and it's, look, man, I guess that's the way it is when you get good and you put in the work, but it worked out. I don't know if we could have seen it then, but it worked out.
We had people leaving and quitting for playing time reasons.
Right.
Having to have team meetings on whether we want a guy to come back. I'll leave that nameless, but we had high profile guys.
Yeah.
Just wanted to bounce because they weren't getting 20% of the snaps in a position I don't even play.
Yeah, yeah.
About the nonsense. It's like,
Yeah, I think the one of the things, and this is going to be interesting with Indiana, and then we'll get back because I got one funny story I got to tell about your ass. Is that I think the one thing that changed for us is, as you know, we were built one way to win championships. Obviously, predating you, and even predating me. '93 team, I think, was the '92 and '93. We won at '94, won at '95. 96, took a step back. 97 was there, but I think 96 to 97, or after 95, probably one of not probably the greatest team of all time. The profile of Nebraska changed. This is where Indiana's at right now. Then you started to get more higher profile guys that were either told or demanded to play early. But that changes also some of the guys that actually aren't the Mike and Ralph Browns that were coming in, and then they get in your program. And sometimes, I wouldn't say that you fought the DNA. You were just testing you were just kind of like, you're like a ping pong inside a box. You're just seeing where you could get it. And then you settled in the middle. Whereas I think we brought in more higher profile guys. They never were trying to get in the middle. So that's where you started to have those type of team meetings. Guy would be in there because we're our locker. So it was my locker, one vacant locker, and then another locker, and then yours. So right. It was like we had a police. Well, then guys would be in and out or whatever. And then that's where I think I saw a little bit of the change. And then that's where, like, after 99, things, kind of changed a little bit. And then obviously, the rest is history. So as Indiana's going to see, as your profile becomes a national brand in Indiana, Bloomington, Indiana becomes the place to be, like Lincoln was the place to be because of winning. If you don't keep your DNA, they'll lose. Indiana's going to lose coaches and coordinators. They lost their weight coach. They're going to lose some more. You're going to bring in some different players. It could be the same, but it's not going to be the same, and it can turn very quickly. Now, I think, they were a very old team, and once you have an old team, you'll be able to be hyper competitive, but their situation changed overnight, or will change overnight, and will continue to change if they continue to be successful. So you got to be very careful, or they got to be very careful on how they handle it, because I think one of the biggest things, I remember talking to you about this is an interesting story. We beat the shit out of Tennessee, and I remember we were in winter conditioning, and it was in springtime. Remember they had the coaches clinic. That's right. And remember, we had a different mentality. Here's what's crazy. We felt like we were a little gang. We would go down to Kansas City to KU and try to beat up their players. That's right. But we get into it with the Chiefs and stuff too. We were talking mad shit. Yep. But I'm telling you, if any team came to Lincoln, which I don't think they would not have got out of there alive. That's right. But when Tennessee coaches came in, I remember talking to you. We had just got done doing the circuit. I'll never forget that. It was the last one, or like the pre-circuit. It was our day off, but they had the coaches clinic. That's right. So we didn't do 7-on-7 that day. We didn't do 7-on-7 that day. We were lifting, and I remember me and you talking. He's like, we looked at it like, that's a fucking mistake. And Tennessee went and won it that year. That's right. And they remember they had their fullback. I think his name was Will Bartholomew. Yep. Switched his number to 45 and all that shit. Yep. So forth and so on. So just it's crazy how things can change. I mean, you got to look. I mean, we had a chance in '98 and we just didn't able to get it. But that's also when you look back, you can kind of see little things where you kind of lose a little bit of your edge a little bit.
So it's when the blueprint's the blueprint. You don't change what works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right.
Right.
Everybody else is going to come in. The Nick Sabans of the world, we whooped that ass at Michigan State.
Yeah.
They came in after that and said, "How are you guys doing what you're doing?" They modeled what we're doing. That then changed the way Michigan State was doing things. So right. Changed the way Nick Saban was doing things. And
now look at it.
Right?
Yeah. Or look at him.
And that's past. Signetti and everybody else that was under that passing or coaching tree followed that model. It's the DNA, to your point. It's the mold. Don't let the mold break the mold, right?
Yeah.
Let the mold be the mold and find players that fit the mold. Don't massage the mold to fit the player.
Right.
When you do that, you lose the framework of what you've built. And now you have more than what you can accommodate, because you're trying to accommodate everybody new. Yeah. Indiana's in a position where they can establish that DNA, which they have, in today's culture where guys are in and out. College football as a whole is helping college football. When we played, college football was an independently ran university here, university there. We're good because we're good. You're good because you're good. Now, because of the portal, is I'm developing this player to potentially help you get better. This off my sweat.
Right.
Coach, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
collective effort of college football as a whole to develop all these kids for them to just bounce and go. So Ryan Held said it the other day when you were interviewing him. He goes, I'm at a JUCO school, but if you send me a kid that's not quite ready for you, I'll get him ready so he can come to you 2 years later because you got room.
Right.
They weren't doing that 2 years. They weren't doing that in the 80s, 90s ever before, right?
No.
It was this guy's mind. If he's no good, he's gone.
Right.
Whether he wants to or we let him know, you could medical redshirt or you're out of here.
He said medical red. Hey, brothers used to be walking around. Yeah. Brothers used to be walking around healthy as a motherfucker. Talk about you medical redshirted boy. Yeah.
And so
Hey, man.
it's more cutthroat than that it is now. I mean, now I think Dion brought in that kind of culture of, I'm gonna cut you and all these types of things. That's just said in front of camera, more of what was always happened behind the scenes.
Behind the camera, yeah. Yeah, it's crazy that it's changed a little bit, or not a lot, and what the freedom that they have is what we felt like we could have had. I want all the players to get compensated, but I think the biggest thing that these guys miss is that you're getting paid, so there's obligation for you to go to perform, and that's where I think you see some of the issues. And guys, you got to pay guys that aren't very good just because maybe you're paying them so they don't go somewhere else, or you're paying them because you're hoping that you can get more out of them than previous, and so it's a crapshoot. And where Nebraska's at, you mentioned the mold. They're trying to rebuild their mold in this new era of college football. So it'll be interesting to see where they go and where they continue to progress. But the one story I want to tell you, man, about your ass, never forget this. This thing what people need to understand. Tony was the one thing I would say about it is like you keep everything light, but you knew. I think as I got older and you got older, you knew when the great thing about you had leadership, and your leadership style was like you knew whose buttons you could push, when to push them to kind of break the ice. And one of the best things was, this shit was funny as a motherfucker. We used to get them goddamn steaks, man.
Yes.
And so I would just like, we're going to go, and Art used to hook us up with the extra. We get our food, and it wasn't like, I put steak on there, some steak sauce, vegetables, potato, whatever else, salad. It's all kind of mixed together. We would just, we eat with our hands or whatever. But I'll never forget, we were sitting in the back there, and this is when they kind of redid the Hewitt and just kind of pushed it, got a little bit more room.
Right.
And Jason Wiltz had his stuff. Was it Jason Wiltz had it? Jason Wiltz was a D tackle. He came in with me, and he was a big dude, right? 300 pounds, but always dressed fly. Always was, matching. And so, but he always had his towel over his shoulder. We called Pooh Bear. But when he had a steak, the plate looked like something that you would put in a food magazine. Because remember, it was like he'd have the perfect amount of steak sauce, the steak cut up in like 16 pieces, like 4 pieces of vegetables, a salad, and whatever it was. I mean, it was like elegant. And so we sat down. I'll never forget that shit. And he had just spent 5 minutes preparing his plate.
Preparing that plate.
And I already was almost through mine because I'm trying to get another one. You know what I mean? And you got up and you was like, oh, I gotta go get a drink, right? Or whatever, refill the drink. So you walk past him, or you're kind of walking past him. You remember you took his fork, little piece of steak, dipped it in, ate it. You're like, that's pretty good. You did a good job there. Yeah, it was a good steak. Yo, that motherfucker was so mad. Was so motherfucking mad. I was laughing so hard, I was crying. I said, I can't, I can't fuck with Tony no more. Because that dude right there just kept it moving, man. We had some.
Yeah, I missed it. That's my personality. It was always to keep it light, keep it moving, have fun. It still is today. I mean, I've been pranking you for years.
Oh man. This dude.
I think you were I forgot where you were.
I was in Charlotte, man. This is what he used to do. He used to call me, and it would always be after the season. So what was happening was you started doing. So I was in Buffalo for 4 years, and got a good contract in Houston. Played out in Houston. Then he started calling me in Houston because, like, when I first got to Houston, when you were playing with Tampa, I was living in an apartment. I need to apologize for your wife because I think my cousin picked you guys up, and she was like traumatized. I remember that. My cousin, rest in peace to my cousin OV. My cousin was wild.
OV was nuts.
Yeah, OV was nuts. So then I got my first house, and then so when I got my third year in Houston, Tony used to call me, and I was, business major. I kind of was I had a financial advisor, so I was kind of just getting new to pay mortgage and investments and all that. And he called me up and was like, "Hey, you ain't pay your mortgage." Hey, this is so and so. You ain't pay your mortgage, and I think you was working, and you knew the lingo because you were working for a mortgage company at that time. And I was like, hold on, let me check. And then by that time, back then you was writing checks, so you would have the little, receipt of it. And I was like, nah, man, I may pay my mortgage last week. And then I get on my damn computer, held up at that, and I was like, nah, man, that check went through. And you were like, no, it didn't. I might have to call my supervisor. I was like, man, fuck you and your supervisor, motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? And then
we're sending foreclosure notices.
Yeah. You was like, we're coming to get your. Then you was the original nephew Tommy.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and you was calling me up, and then finally at the end, you was like Debo. I was like Debo. I was like Tony. Well, remember when? So then fast forward towards I was playing one more year. I was like in my 8th or 9th year. And you called me in Charlotte. I just probably had my oldest. So I'm trying to, change diapers, and you called me on the wrong day. I remember you had me going. I was like, man, fuck you and your mortgage, motherfucker. And I remember telling you the year before you ain't gonna get me, but you knew, and it was either right around tax day or something.
Yeah,
because you do, the timing of it was perfect. And the funny thing is, I used to always think like, how does this motherfucker just wake up and is like, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get this dude today.
Oh yeah, I go.
This is the day.
Man, I'm gonna get this dude.
Yeah. After your career in the
funniest moments living with you and playing with you and all that was when your dad would come visit. And your dad would sit there on Sundays and go, man. And his first thing he would just say, man, I need to have somebody come over and clean this place, man. When I was
that's it.
Clean this place up on Sundays. Y'all just walking around here, just sitting around, place dirty. I was like, dang, Uncle. So we used to call him Uncle Foreman. I was like, damn, Uncle Chuck, my bad, man. We'll get somebody over here right away.
He always tells us, he's like, y'all need to be out washing your cars. He's like, y'all cars look like shit. He was on. My dad was like, y'all need to be having your stuff looking sweet. I was like, shit. We over here, we like the Junction Boys, Dad. We go. I was working at Gallup. Remember, I was working at Gallup, and I used to bring all the toilet paper in soap home, even though that toilet paper was like damn sandpaper. We was getting free toilet paper for the rest of the year.
That was good times, man. Getting ready for the agility run, trying to practice this agility run in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Just nuts.
That 800 Westwood Road.
You don't hear anymore because guys don't.
They don't live with each other. I don't think none of these guys. Yeah.
I don't know what the summer schedules are like, but like we never went home. There was no spring break. We were with each other, and all the sports, right? Basketball, whatever it was. Everybody was around each other, and that's what kind of made the university great. That era of just being around each other, 365 days a year.
Right. Yeah, you had to learn it. You had to learn about each other, learn each other's backgrounds, kind of like learn each other as a person, and that's
life,
what.
Right. While you're going through life as a 19-year-old, 20-year-old, you're
right.
learning from each other.
I always wanted to ask you. I mean, I know it, but I want for people to say. Obviously, you played in Tampa, but then you played in NFL Europe. Talk about that because NFL doesn't have like a minor league system like the NBA G League or whatever they got. Talk about what it was like over there and some of the guys you played with or against over in NFL Europe.
Yeah, so my NFL career was all over the place. I always tell people I was the first guy in the 8th round. Right, I was selected first in the 8th, and so a little bit of a bidding war that I had with some teams. I almost went to New Orleans. They had more money to offer. I flew to Tampa a few days before to do an assessment, not a workout, but when they're pre-draft stuff, they fly you in and they want to see what you look like and talk. And I remember Warren Sapp looking at me wanting to fight. That was just being given a tour. And anyway, but it was a good experience. Dallas picks me up. I signed with Dallas. I'm here all through mini camp. And then by the time it gets to training camp, before even training camp ever starts, I get cut. They send you back home. You're going to do that. And while I'm home, I get cut. And so I get a call the next day. New England says, hey, we're going to, New England being New England, we're not supposed to do this, but I'm calling you. I'm letting you know that, we're going to send somebody to pick you up as soon as waivers clear. But we have to wait 24 hours before we can tell you, and then we're going to tell you. And so they're calling me like 48 hours early. So I go to New England, and I don't do anything linebacker related. It's all special teams. Jay, I didn't go to meetings. I didn't go to defensive meetings. I just hung out with the special teams coach and Adam Vinatieri. That was it. That was long, and all I did was all special teams. I got really, really good at just watching special teams film. That was my life. And so I go through all the way up to week 1, and then I get released, right? And so then from there, I go to Europe. And so Europe comes along, and I get into the draft, and I get drafted. Now, they had a system where they could send you as a tagged player,
Yeah.
or as a free agent player. So if you go as a tagged player, you're part of that team. That team says, we're developing you. We're going to send you. You're with us. You're in a contract with us. We're sending you. You get logos on your jersey. You get team
Jersey.
I didn't get any of that. I was a free agent. I go. I make the team. I start, and I ball. Very first game, I blow out my knee. ACL. I get flown back. I'm sitting in Birmingham, Alabama, and I rehab my ACL. I think it's over. I get over myself. Rehab. I go back for Europe the next year. Same team. Redrafted, not allocated. I go as a free agent. I ball and make the team. Ray Woodard's the coach. There's a Thomas Sula, who's at the Niners.
Yeah.
D-line coach. And so all these guys are great. I go in there, and Amp Lee was coaching. You know, it was just a roster of coaches. And so I go there, and I start. I ball out. I'm living in Edinburgh, Scotland for 3-4 months, and putting resume film together. And what you do is you just go out there, and you're playing in these giant stadiums, and it was a great experience for me. It was
Right.
It was the closest I could get to understanding what it was like to play for a full season on a team that a total of 3 years, because then the following year was Amsterdam. And so 3 years of doing that, and then moving on to Canada and trying to make training camps. So for me, I was playing football almost year round by way of developmental seasons, one-off leagues, or training camps, right? So by the time you saw me when Tampa would play Houston, I had already played in XFL. I was in Europe. I was in this training camp or that training camp. And it was just, I was in this arena league, and it was just this.
Right.
So by the time I got to you, I was like exhausted.
Right.
Because you're living out of a suitcase, and you're going here and you're going there. 5 NFL teams, 5 training camps, 3 NFL Europe teams, 2 Canadian teams, an arena league. And then at 24, 25, I'm like, all right, that's it.
Right.
There's no more relationships, and the things that I was able to, the playing time and the relationships. I very much liken it to like a Forrest Gump-like experience.
Right.
I find myself in a position where I'm learning from a Wade Phillips, or I'm learning from a Bill Belichick, or I'm learning literally one-on-one with a Dan Reeves, things that not everybody has experienced in a short amount of 3 to 4 year span, where I'm learning from individual coaches, or because I was a guy that was brought into a camp. Hey, you specialize in this, go do this. They had me at gunner.
Yeah.
Belichick put me at gunner. I used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to learn a playbook, because I used to have to back up. So Belichick says, hey, we're going to bring you in. You're going to play special teams, but now we're going to put you in this money backer position. So this money backer position was the nickel. I was the backer. But you got to back up Katzenmoyer, who came from Ohio.
Yeah, big as hell, yeah.
Big as hell, Brewski, big as hell, but I was the smaller guy. I was faster, right? But you don't know the playbook because you haven't been here. So I got to have you get up, get with an assistant coach at 4 a.m. I go meet with them, learn the money down situations, and go play that. Not only that, but I'm going to put you at gunner. And so my first time at gunner, I got to go up against Ty Law and Tabucky Jones, because they're doubling the gunners. And so I was like, all right, so here I am. I got the Vince Papale smaller pads on because I want to run faster.
Yeah.
I'm lined up, and I'm like, oh shit, what am I gonna do? And I know Tabucky from high school, because he's from Connecticut, ran track, so I knew T-Buck. But I'm like, it's Ty Law. So I'm like, well, I'm not gonna give him the shimmy, so I'm gonna try to run through him. So I run through the guy, and I just get hemmed up, and I just get taken to a .com sign. And the point of telling kind of all that was I felt like I was just all over the map with my experience, which was really, really good for me in the long run, because I just got this world of knowledge from all of these coaches, playing defensive end in Canada, or playing the mic, or playing under backing up Brooks or Shelton Quarles or all these other guys that other places, and learning from them and gaining those experiences. That was my career. Essentially, it was just this crash course in the football, learning more than I had ever learned collegiately up to that point.
Right.
Because it was such a crash course.
Right.
I'll never forget it, bro. Who's your linebackers coach, Bo? And I was like, yeah. That was the conversation.
Hey.
Monty Kiffin sent me that. Monty Kiffin told me that.
Right.
Was Bo? I was like, yeah. He was like, That was that. I was like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Man. We used to talk to each other all season. I was like, yeah, it took me a little while to get my game going. But I mean, Coach Bowl was all right.
he was all
I
right.
still ain't. Supposedly he's called all the other players, called some linebackers and
I got it.
apologized.
I got the.
Yeah,
I was part of the apology tour.
yeah, I wasn't.
I got it. I got it.
I'm still waiting.
You didn't have to. You didn't have to get that.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
were part of that. He didn't do you anything. He did me wrong. I got the apology.
Shit. Yeah, whatever. But hey, man, I want to. What people don't realize. Yeah, exactly. When you was rehabbing, you was rehabbing with Triple H.
I was rehabbing with Triple H.
Yeah,
In Birmingham, Alabama. And this is the Mecca. This is where everybody goes to get the surgeries and everything else. Like, I'm in the waiting room to see it, and I see all of these stars come in and out, and you look up, you see where Bo Jackson had his hips cemented. They got like this big picture. They got Jordan shoes. So I'm sitting in there, and freaking Triple H walks in, and I was like, "Oh snap, Triple H!" And he sits right next to me. Him, Stephanie McMahon, and the trainer comes over to us and goes, "This is going to be." And the way they had it set up, because we were living there, essentially training for a living, rehabbing for a living, he had tore his quad.
yeah,
And so he was having surgery that day. I think, and Andrews was doing his surgery that day. He just did mine, and thousands of others, I'm sure. And so he's the rehab trainer we're basically bunkmates. So we share the same pod where we do our rehab. 3 weeks into that, he's rehabbing. Monday Night Raw's doing a story on him. And so, when I called him Hunter, I said, "Yo, Hunter, when the cameras are on, I'm a flex in the background." And he was like, "All right." He goes, "So because what they used to do, and I don't know if you ever had this, but with ACLs, when you tear it, the first thing they always start working on is your flexibility."
yeah,
So any muscle, for him, they do this flexion test. And so how far can you stretch out your leg? And so he's sitting on the edge of the bench, and he's trying to flex his right leg out. While he's doing that, I'm in the bench next to him, and I have these bands over my feet. You know how you stretch? So I'm pulling the bands, and I'm flexing as hard as I can over the camera. And this is on live Monday Night Raw.
yeah,
And I'm making the faces like, "Yeah, brother," and I'm just doing all that.
yeah,
And so that's happening. It's recorded that day, not live. It's recorded that day, and it is showing the next week. And then my boys were calling me. I don't know if you saw it or people saw it. It was
yeah,
a real quick second. You could see that piece of it, especially when he came back. And he went his debut when he came back. They showed his story of how he got there. And that's my claim to fame on Monday Night Raw, was to see him and be a part of that highlight film. But that's that story. It's so hilarious to me, because that's what I'm telling you. It's like a Forrest Gump-like experience for me
right.
of football, being around situations where not everybody can say that they were around, just for a quick snippet, and I move on to something, right? So that's kind of one of them there.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I mean, it was funny when you told me, because back in college, we were big wrestling fans because there was nothing on TV. We'd watch it on like Saturdays and Sundays.
Was wrestling, and then every day at practice was Jerry Springer.
Yeah. Jerry, we'd have our little shows, and we'd be clowning, knowing damn well we didn't know that they was fake. We were easy prey back then.
Easy prey.
Yeah, but I want to before we jump off, we're gonna have to have a part two, because we're gonna talk about some of the capers. But tell everybody what you got going on right now, because I think it's pretty cool how you've taken the Blackshirts and the Huskers down to Dallas into enemy territory, even though it's North Texas, and built a really good training business and obviously a football program down there.
Yeah, so the last 15 years, or the 20 years I've lived here in Texas, Frisco, Texas specifically, the youth programming here has really exploded. And so there's lots of leagues and sports, and specifically around baseball, soccer, and football. And so my kids have gone through it. My kids have either played soccer or currently playing soccer, or have gone through the football program. Part of that is there's a larger recreational youth program here, specifically in Frisco and all over the state of Texas, but specifically in Frisco, that caters to recreational football. And so that rec league is 28 years standing now. I've been a part of it the last 15, 16 years. And so from that, it's called the Frisco Football League. We play just within ourselves.
Right.
1,700 kids, flag, tackle, cheer, right? Lots of kids, probably one of the bigger single-site leagues in the country, right? From that, I created an opportunity to train kids, not necessarily using that model, but creating my own, in that were my own kids. I just wanted to just give them a foundation. What I had found over time, whether it was training my own kids or training other kids, was that when they get older, if they didn't have the opportunities to learn the game from the ground up, I found that I was always reverse engineering what they had learned. Everything from step to first step to how to run, mechanics behind that. So all those different things. So for me, specific to linebacker, LBU was born, and I trained specifically in that skill set. And then that skill set started expanding, because when you do well by a kid, then it becomes word of mouth. So then other positions started opening up where kids needed help in other areas. And it's really hard to find a lot of people who are specific to things that are to that age group, that niche. I'm not talking 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds who are now just doing a lot of things, but specific to really the 6-year-olds to 10-year-olds that kind of need that foundation. And the foundation is really, really simple. And so I started volunteering my time to other camps, quarterback camps, O-line camps, D-line camps, and just being a fly on the wall and listening and taking in things and telling those coaches or those people who run those camps, just use me anywhere I want to learn. Because you can't coach here level unless you're a certified teacher and those types of things. And I didn't want to be a part of that. I already have a full-time gig. So what this became was just a business that became another job for me, creating that level of work where I can take in those positions and take in those training opportunities and then create a program around it where I said, listen, I'll take your kid full gambit, where we're going to learn I'll take my track background, mix that in there, help you with that. Play other sports, do what you want to do, but we'll dedicate an hour to 2 hours a week, and we'll work on doing this. And I wanted to get into coaching, and so me and a couple other guys, we don't have any kids on our teams. We coach teams together because it's part of that. It's my golf. I don't hit players. I don't do those types of things. And so this is an opportunity for me to continue the coaching that I love to do without the commitment of being at a school. And at my own pace, and giving the kids an opportunity to have a foundation so that when they get to middle school, they don't find themselves behind. And when they get to high school, they can hit the ground running with those coaches. And I'm starting to see that. We've had some success with some kids who have gone to college. I have a few kids of my oldest team that I've coached. 4 or 5 kids have hit the D1 opportunity, whether at Baylor or at Memphis or at Rice, in varying positions. And I like to, and even Texas UT, I'd like to say that it's because obviously of their talent and the things that they've done, but the foundation that kind of we've installed or instilled in them at the football level, at the love level of the game. I think it's always, they can always revert to that. They don't forget who you are. The impact on their lives early on. So.
Yeah, and they always, they don't remember how hard you had them work. There's just that the results, and that's a good thing. Like,
that's right.
What you're doing. And, well, I got to ask though, are you more, you taking your teaching, you teaching them more like Charlie McBride or like Coach Bo?
So that's funny. It's very funny. So when I started this, I called Charlie and I asked him, I said, I'm gonna start doing this. I'm gonna start coaching this. What's advice for me? And he said, Tony, you coach them hard and you love them hard. And I say it's more of a McBride approach for me.
Yeah.
Quick Charlie McBride story, if you remember. There was a fight that broke out, and this might have been when you were gone. This might have been my senior year. A fight broke out, and it was EJ. EJ and I have the same build. And so EJ got into a fight with one of the linemen, and they scrapped and they broke up. And this is Colorado week, so Colorado week.
Yeah.
Always sphincters are tight, and so he grabs me and he starts chewing me out, shaking my helmet up and down. You fighting? You can't even do this. And I didn't do nothing. I was actually standing right next to him. It was EJ that did it, and so. He just grabs me and starts tearing me a new one. So much so that I had to sit on the water cooler and shed a tear a little bit for a second.
Yeah.
I was like, Mike Brown walks over and goes, "You all right, dog?" I was like, "Yeah, man, I just need a minute." And so the next day, we're doing pregame, our pre-walkthrough, and we're doing our warm-up. And he goes, and I can hear Charlie in the background, and he's talking to Steve, and he's talking to the D-line. And he says, it doesn't matter if you're the wrong guy or the right guy. Everybody's held accountable. And no matter, even if we make mistakes as coaches, we love you just the same. And then he says, right, Tony? And I turned around, I looked at him, and I went like this. And that's when I knew,
Yeah.
My bad. I still love you.
Yeah.
And that's the approach I take with all the kids, is that you coach them hard, but you love them just as hard.
Yeah, that's the one thing I think is that a lot of the learning lessons that we got from him, because he wasn't our direct coach. He was a D
That's right.
coordinator. Like I coached basketball and trained a few kids as well. And that's the same. It doesn't matter the sport. It's like everybody makes mistakes, and if you do it for the right reasons, the best payoff is like where you see kids, they end up going places, they end up having a good high school career, and you get to go watch them and stuff like that. But yeah, McBride. Everybody has a McBride story. I'll tell mine before we get off. I'll never forget we were playing, and I think we just had lost to Texas A&M. We played okay, or whatever. And remember we were on the track in the middle field. It was track. It was cold as hell out. Somebody else made a mistake, and I think I made the tackle or something. We were inside run, and he got up in my grill, and he was so bad. He came back and told me later. He's like, I'm coaching through you to somebody else.
That's right.
Right. But when he was giving me the business, he'd always catch you slipping. Yo, my face was covered in tobacco.
In tobacco, yep.
And the whole time is you got to take it.
That's right.
But I'm like, damn, that's wintergreen skull. All of them, that's coping. And then here's the messed up part about it. I'm the middle linebacker, so not only am I getting accosted or whatever for indirectly or whatever,
right.
I'm on the front stage, so the spotlight was there, and then it's like, all right, I gotta handle this. I gotta take it like I should.
That's right.
And you know what I mean. But look, with Coach McBride,
but he was talking to somebody else, right?
Right, and that's fine, and that's cool, and right, and yeah, either or, Coach McBride was a can man. Anybody can get it.
That's right.
And
that is, I think the biggest thing that I would take from that, and you probably learned from that, is how to take an ass chewing.
Yeah, and because it's not, and
it's yes sir, yes sir,
yeah,
and then you walk away, and that's
right.
It's
and the one thing I learned,
mentality,
right?
Fuck, I'm transferring because he yelled at me.
Right. The one thing I learned from that is, even though in this case, in your case, or any case, he wasn't 100% right, there is some truth to it. And it doesn't matter the tone or how he did it. It's the message.
That's right.
And, was he coaching me through somebody else or coaching somebody else through me? Sure. But that means I could play better, right? Find a way to do better. We just lost and it ain't none happy around here. So everybody needs to up their game, including himself. And so I've always kind of remembered that. And that's the only way that you're going to be like successful, because Coach McBride, even in the offseason, I remember the first year I started really like kind of playing in the pros. And it was after my rookie year. And he was like, how do you think he did? And I was just happy just because I was playing. Somebody got hurt and I started, you go in there and you kind of went on a run. I was like, all right, I kind of started to believe I could play. He was like, oh, hell no. He's like, I watched some of your tapes. He's like, motherfucker, your hand placement is weak. He's like, you need to do better at the point of attack when you hit like somebody and drive them back. And I was like, I came in about, I'm about 6'2", 6'3". I came in, I felt like I was 7 feet tall. I left that bitch, I was 5'11". I was like, I went right from there, went down to the equipment room. I hadn't planned on working out, because I was just back, kind of getting my stuff out of the apartment. So I went right to the weight room, right to the squat rack. Just went in there like about 8 sets in. That's all I could think about. But I'm gonna tell you what, one of my goals was that next year when I came back to get the report, or anytime I was struggling, to get his verification that I'm making improvement, because that's his message was the message, and the delivery didn't matter. Because you were going to get the truth. And for as many times that you felt the wrath of McBride, there was times 10 or 20 the times that he was there for you when you needed a kick in the butt or a pat in the back. And that's what good coaching is. And there's a lot of good coaches out here, I'm sure, but it's good that you're taking some of the lessons that we learned, talked about, frustrated about, and then now as we're grown men. Who would have thought? We're almost. I know I'm about to be 50 in a couple of weeks, and you almost there. Is that now we're here using the same lessons that we used to bitch about with kids and youth, and hopefully we're spreading what we used to call the ism a little bit to these knuckleheads out here as they move forward.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I mean it's between I always think about this is like I don't know if I always think about how blessed we were just to have Coach Osborne. Kind of watch him, because we got to watch him from afar, because he was kind of the head coach and the offensive coach. But I learned a lot from him. And then obviously Coach McBride and all the coaches too, Coach Sam, how to be cool, calm, and collective. Even a little bit from Coach Bowl, where you always when you're playing games, your ass needs to be tight. You know what I mean, and you need to be toned up. So I don't want to sit there. I mean, Coach Bowl, I always try to say that the trials and tribulations we put him through, made him into the great coach he was up there at North Dakota State. Because once he went, because once he got up there, he's like, I could deal with anybody.
That's right. To his credit, if he could deal with us, he could deal with anybody.
Yeah,
between
me, you, EJ, Julius Jackson, and whoever else that we had in there. Ben Bubach wanted to fight everybody all the time. We were definitely, I mean, heck, we were getting in trouble. Remember that time Coach Bowl was trying to get a hold of us and stuff after the little melee? I was into the win. Yeah, it was everybody like, hey, you ain't gonna see me for.
This is before coaches really had access to people that they could call or text. He was trying to get a hold of everybody. Like, hey, I ain't picking up that phone.
Yeah, and that's when we first got caller ID.
That's right.
Yeah, we got caller ID, man.
Like, nope.
Nope. Yeah, I'm busy right now. Yeah.
To your point, I learned a lot from. I used to hang out with Milt Tenneper, believe it or not. And
right.
Going to his office and sit down and just BS with him. You mentioned earlier I was lighthearted guy. I would go around the office and just kind of hang out with coaches. I would hang out with Dan Young a little bit. I would hang out with Coach Tenneper, and Coach Tenneper would make me go on the board and draw him fronts. I mean, he was teaching me, and stuff I appreciated. Prior to his passing, when we used to see him, we used to just joke about that all the time. You know, I used to have you come in. I used to quiz you on where the 3 techniques supposed to go: this front, this under, this over. You know, spend time with Coach Barnes or Coach Solich, or sit down. Coach Solich, we want you. Hey, come sit down. Spend a couple minutes with me. You know,
right.
Those things were important. What to me, what it showed was there was a level of investment in you as a person, and just wanted to get to know who you were outside of just the athlete. Those things I take with me in everything that I do. There's a part of every coach that I come in contact with, especially at the collegiate level. There's coaches that you just, I'm sure you've come across it, where you wipe your hands of that experience.
Yeah.
And then there are coaches that you walk away with something.
Right.
I didn't spend a lot of time with Monty Kiffin per se, but the one thing I learned from him was that he was a jovial dude too, even in his
right.
Right. He would sit there and go, hey, and he would mess up and go, the first thing he would say is, I went to Nebraska where the N stands for knowledge. And that's like the joke that I always say every time I mess up on something. I've never heard that before until I heard him say it one time in a meeting.
Yeah.
And I just take it with me. So it was, and he probably didn't know my name or gave a shit too much about me or anything else, just because of the position I came in as, and I wasn't a
starter or whatever.
Starter or D lineman, the position of coach or anything like that specifically. But just being around other coaches over a period of time and picking up certain things is what I value the most. And I try to get, even when I meet coaches today at any other level, or just pick brains of people, just grab them. That's the fun part of it. That's what I appreciate the most. Yeah,
Monty was great, man. And, I don't think I get to Nebraska without Monty, because Lane Kiffin went to a rival high school. Me and Lane were ball boys together. Monty, obviously started the Blackshirts. And, Coach Young knew Monty, and Coach Osborne did. And they asked, if I was a good player. Next thing you know, I get to Nebraska. When I used to see Monty after we played in the pros, it was always, appreciation. He's another one I didn't directly coach under him, but he's a great coach, a great man, and I wouldn't be sitting maybe not where I am today without him giving the blessing. Like, he can play at Nebraska, because he saw me play. So I gotta give a big shout out to Monty. So anyways, we're gonna put this one. We'll put a bow on this bad boy. 90 minutes. We're gonna have round 2, because I think we're going to have to start to expand this. We'll have to bring like Steve Warren and guys on, and we'll start doing some research. Tony Ortiz, Jay Foreman, the first Blackshirt Lounge via the Forever Blackshirt channel. We'll maybe change it or keep it going. We'll have to start getting this as we start to get into spring ball. We'll start to do some more football stuff and break down to the team and start to tell some of the war stories, man. So I appreciate you coming on, man, on a Monday. Hopefully you get the weather a little bit better out there, because we're in the 40s here in Nebraska, but hopefully you guys get your snow melted here moving forward.
Winter's over. We're back in the 60s. So.
All right, man. All right. I'll let you. I'll talk on you offline, and we'll set it up, man. We'll start getting on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, man.
Love
you, bro, man. Be good.
All
right. Yeah.